You know that song, right? The one you probably learned as a kid to memorize all 50 states? Well, have you ever really stopped to think about why it works so darn well? Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the cognitive magic behind that simple tune. We're going to see what it can teach us about, well, learning pretty much anything. Let's dive in. So let's just start with the main problem. How in the world do you get your brain to hang on to a list of 50 different things? Doesn't matter if it's states or capitals or, I don't know, types of cheese. It is a really tough job. 50. I mean, just look at that number. It's kind of intimidating, isn't it? As just a raw piece of information, it's just a big blob. 50 random facts with no links, no story, no order. Your brain is practically designed to forget something like that. And that's really the heart of it. Our brains are not wired to remember long, jumbled, random lists of stuff. It's like trying to listen to the radio and all you get is static. There's just no pattern, nothing for your mind to lock onto. So, how do you find the signal in the noise? Well, that brings us to the song's hidden genius, the alphabetical blueprint. This is the simple, almost ridiculously elegant solution to all that cognitive static. Because here's the cool thing. While our brains absolutely hate randomness, they are total pros at finding patterns. In fact, they're obsessed with them. You give the brain a system, any system, and it will grab on and not let go. And what we're talking about here is a perfect example of a super powerful tool called a mnemonic device. It's really just a fancy way of saying a memory trick. You know, like Roy G. Biv for the colors of the rainbow? Well, the 50 States Song is an absolute all-star in the Mnemonic Device Hall of Fame. Now here's where it gets really interesting. We all think it's the catchy little tune that does the heavy lifting, right? But that's not actually the secret weapon. The real hero of this story, the thing that makes the whole system work, is the alphabet. The alphabet completely transforms that messy, random list into this beautifully organized filing system inside your head. You're no longer just trying to pull a state out of thin air. Nope. You're going to a specific drawer. You know Alabama is in the A drawer at the front, and Wisconsin is way in the back in the W drawer. It gives you a map. But of course, nothing's ever that perfect, especially when a human brain gets involved. So now let's look at the really fascinating part, the little glitches that show up when memory gets put under pressure. Because, a perfect system on paper is one thing. But what happens when you filter that system through a real, live, messy, and totally imperfect human brain? Well, that's when things get really cool. For instance, check this out. In the source material we're looking at, we see this. Kinetic. You can see the basic shape of the word. It sounds kind of right, but it's just a little bit off. Or how about this one? Michigan. It's almost like the brain just served up the first, most important chunk of the word and then decided, good enough. You get the idea. Moving on. And this one's my favorite. Row Carolina. Now, what is that? Is that a typo? Did someone mishear it? Or is the brain kind of stumbling for a second, caught somewhere between Rhode Island and North Carolina? It's a little mystery. So when you lay the source transcript right next to the standard spellings, you see these small but really interesting little differences. And they're not just random typos. There's a pattern to the weirdness. See, these aren't mistakes in the way we usually think of them. They are more like fossils. Fossils of a mind in the middle of doing its job. Every little glitch is a clue, showing us how the brain values sound and speed over getting every single letter perfect during rapid recall. It's a beautiful human thing. Okay, so with all that in mind, let's take a look at the full list from our source. You're about to see that powerful alphabetical structure and those fascinating little human glitches all living together side by side. So here's the first part of the list. You can totally see that strong alphabetical backbone holding it all up. And right there, nestled in the C's, is our little fossil, kinetic. And here's the rest of the crew, from M all the way to W. And it's the same exact story. A really strong, reliable system, just peppered with those perfectly imperfect human touches. So what is the big takeaway here? What does this all mean? Let's wrap this up by looking at what this little song can tell us about our own brains. The goal here today wasn't actually to teach you the 50 states. It was to use the states as a perfect little case study to understand the mechanics of memory. Because knowing how your brain learns, that is the ultimate life hack. It really boils down to this incredibly simple 3-step process. First, you're faced with a big, messy, complicated list. Then you lay a simple, familiar structure over it, like the alphabet. And just like that, the impossible thing suddenly becomes manageable. This is the key. This is the whole thing. It doesn't matter what you're trying to learn, simple structures are the keys that unlock complex subjects. It's true for the states, it's true for history, it's true for science, it's true for everything. So, I'll just leave you with this question to chew on. What big, intimidating subject in your life, maybe for work or for school or just for you, is just sitting there waiting for its own simple song? What alphabetical blueprint could you build to finally make it click?